So, we are already at the end of our banking forum for this year. I hope that you enjoyed the session as much as Willem Jan and me did. And I have to say that I'm particularly happy to be here in Brussels office and to have my colleagues with me, as you have recognized that we are here in a very nice studio. So just let us reflect a little bit on the day, what we have learned and what we have heard about today.
I had a great day, to be honest.
Good.
So yeah, and also thanks for moderating all the sessions today. I think you've done a wonderful job. A lot of inspiration for me. A difficult where to start. Maybe you start at the beginning with Nick, right? So Nick talked about the situation where banks are in at the moment, and his wise words were, in the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity, and I think that is a good way to maybe also to end today with. But he said in an environment like this, there are a couple of things banks could do to stay resilient. So he was talking about diversifying your business, staying in control of your risks, to take bold decisions, to stay resilient, have a constructive dialogue with the regulator, and also about safeguard your human capital. And I think that is basically maybe also a nice bridge to the session with Roger and Steve, right? Where he says the relevance of people and culture is really key.
Yeah, Roger said all resilience starts with human resilience. Yeah. I found that the most important sentence. I think it's very striking and summarized very good what his essence of his speech. So he reflected on the psychological and philosophical side of stress and resilience, but also stress and the importance of the team, which gives you some confidence and which helps you because you are sitting in this boat together, right? And it is very important to understand each other, to understand each other's, he called it moral DNA, its values and the principles as the rules. And next to understanding each other and building up trust, diversity is also key in a team, to complement each other and to work closely together. And I think this close cooperation between team members, but also between functions, between the audit functions and the audit committee, between audit functions and external auditors, but also with the regulators, that is a topic we have heard during the day a couple of times.
Yeah. And I remember vividly that he said that you shouldn't work more than 36 hours a week in order to stay effective, right? And I think build on that. Then Annette mentioned later on that one part of retaining your talents in your organization is to work on remuneration, right? That is the big elephant in the room.
Okay,
so
that's good for us. I mean, less work and much more pay. So I think we all like that.
I've got to make sure that my boss sees the video. Yeah, for sure. No, so with Annette and Helga and also with Pascal, we also talked about the skill sets and the profile of internal auditors in this resilient environment. And we talked about that not only technical skills are important, but also the leadership skills that come along with it. We'd also talked about a hybrid way of working or remote way of working, but in essence, I think everybody agreed that being physical present in the office would also help engage your team members and to learn from each other, and also to keep the motivation high, I guess. So we talked about diversity from different angles, also how we cooperate with first line of defense and second line of defense, and I think that is also something that you could help build careers for your staff. And that makes you an attractive function to attract the right people to your team. Yeah? And ultimately, I think the key thing that I took away from the discussion is make sure that your teams, they share a shared purpose for the function as a whole. Huh?
And from now onwards, no longer support functions, but transversal function, right? That was also Annette stressed a couple of times, and I found it a quite good description of the audit function and the role of the audit function within the organization. Yeah. And that maybe is also the bridge to our next guest, our next panel, where we sit together with the ECB. I think we all appreciate a lot that our ECB colleagues are entering in such an open dialogue with us, and they come here and have this open discussion with us. So what Ramon said, the priorities of the ECB, they remained adequate, but they refocused during the crisis situation or in view of the crisis situation. So let me recap. He said credit risk in his various dimensions, in whichever form. Then funding structure and liquidity, implications from increasing interest rate, and profitability, which all pushes us into more digital models, working models, and sustainable finance is of course a huge topic for all of us. And then cybersecurity, which is to us quite, I must say, a more new risk category, always been operational risk, but now becomes, I think, quite a new dimension. And be mindful about your legacy IT systems, right? They are still there, and they will not go away from one day to another. And there are still some reminders from the past, like governance structure. I always looked at governance, but sound governance structures and culture have even gained more importance in the crisis situation. And not to forget a number of regulatory priorities, which are still there, and we will have to implement at internal auditors, look at, like Basel III, climate risk management, and DORA.
Yeah, I also like the reminder of Ramon about his assessment on the effectiveness of an internal audit function, and whether it is about setting the right priorities, so not trying to do everything 100%. Therefore, as he said, it's called a scope, right? And to do your audits risk-based. To make sure you've got skilled and staff resources in your audit department. The stature of your audit function is very important, and that you do inform management properly about the execution of your audits and the outcome of it, and that you do adequate follow-up. And in that sense, I also like to hear from the industry, basically from Igor and from Thomas, about how they do it in the environment outside of banking, and whereby Thomas said his 6 weeks audit approach, which is quite revolutionary, at least from the perspective of where I'm sitting. We do more like an annual plan and do the periodic revisions, but I really liked the ideas that they shaped for us. Yep.
I found it quite interesting to learn that even both Igor and Thomas work in different industries. Their view on audit and cooperation with the second line, for example, is not so much different from our view. Yeah. So that means even if you're not working in such a highly regulated industry as we do, you might come to a different audit approach. Yeah. And for me, that was not so clear, because when we putting together the agenda for the forum, we thought it would be good also to invite somebody or some people from outside the banking industry to see which answer somebody who is not under this rigid regulation would find to some of the questions we are faced with. So I found that quite interesting.
And they pointed out, quite interestingly as well, one thing that Ramon did not point out, and that is more the time to market of your audit reports. So how quickly can you turn around, and what products do you've got for what type of engagement? So it's good to be reminded of that as well. Yeah.
To be more flexible, to be more agile in order to be resilient. I think that is the important message, and that is the important message of the day, and perfectly, I think, summarizes
the whole day.
The whole day, I hope. So once again, I hope you all enjoyed the day as we did. Yeah. I would really wish to meet you in person next time. I said that already last year, and I think the year before. But let's see. In the meantime, I hope you stay all healthy and very devoted and motivated for audit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and goodbye.